Well, the first domino of the NBA offseason fell over yesterday, and that was Bradley Beal getting traded to the Phoenix Suns, pairing up with Devin Booker and Kevin Durant, the newest big three in the NBA, and KD's fourth all time. Beal was traded for Chris Paul, Landry Shamet, and once news broke, everyone had a lot on their minds pertaining to Bradley Beal, the Phoenix Suns, and the Washington Wizards instead of their own fathers. Hope y'all enjoyed Father's Day though. But after 24 hours processing the first major move of the NBA offseason, we need to go over the good, the bad, and the downright ugly of the Bradley Beal trade and where that leaves the Suns and Wizards for the future. And if you're one of the few thousand people more focused on Bradley Beal than Father's Day, my guys at Manscaped got you covered with a perfect belated Father's Day gift. Manscaped's Performance Package 4.0 is the ultimate men's hygiene bundle, and even I use it today. Whether it's for you, for your father, or for someone else, join over 8 million people worldwide who trust Manscaped, and with this exclusive offer for you, get 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the code DJStevo at manscaped.com. They might even throw in 2 free gifts for you as well once you use that code. Again, get 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the code DJStevo. Thanks again to Manscaped for sending me the Performance Package 4.0. Let's get back into the video. Let's talk about the good. Bradley Beal is a 3-time All-Star who's played 10 seasons in the NBA, all for the Washington Wizards, as a dynamic scorer at the guard spot that plays the 2 and at times can play the 1, which he did in Washington. Beal's addition with Phoenix creates a dynamic scoring trio in Phoenix right now. Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and Bradley Beal. Just on paper and what they're able to do on the court, that is a scoring trio that is super talented and one of the best teams in the NBA when we look at the star power and what they have. Devin Booker and Kevin Durant are great shot makers, and so is Bradley Beal. But what's underrated about Bradley Beal's skill set, he's actually a very, very good player attacking the basket and is able to finish around the basket as well. And playing alongside Devin Booker and Kevin Durant, who I think are better than Bradley Beal right now in his career, Bradley Beal is going to see many favorable matchups on offense where he's going to be able to attack those players, not having to deal with the best defensive player on the team on most nights. If you've been following basketball and you're a real basketball savant, you know how good Bradley Beal is, but many people may not have paid attention to how skilled Bradley Beal is and how he's been a 3-time All-Star due to the fact that the Washington Wizards haven't been a competitive team or in the playoffs over the past few years. I think there's going to be a bunch of different ways the Phoenix Suns can use Bradley Beal, especially with an offense that includes Kevin Durant and Devin Booker, where Devin Booker's able to play the 1 at times. Bradley Beal is one of the better off-ball players in the game right now, and you still have Kevin Durant, who is going to have much of a lesser role and won't have to carry as much of a load on the offensive end because Bradley Beal and Devin Booker are still great offensive talents to perform on any night. And even if you look at the Suns and how they performed, this team took the NBA champion Denver Nuggets to 6 games while Devin Booker had a historic playoff run, and you can really say that Kevin Durant played under his own standards and really didn't get much else from the entire team when you look at the play of Chris Paul, DeAndre Ayton, and the other role pieces on this team, on the Suns last year. So I definitely understand the addition of Bradley Beal, and I can see how it's very favorable for the Suns and what they can do on offense. Now, let's talk about the bad, because I have a few questions about this move. Was this worth it, trading for a player who makes over $50 million a year to be your de facto third option? Especially with the new CBA, it's not really preferred to go over the salary cap and be taxed for going over the salary cap as well. I think Bradley Beal again is a great scoring option, but if you're going to have him as your de facto third option next to Devin Booker and Kevin Durant, was there any viable cheaper options for you to go ahead and add in a different player? Because at the end of the day, Bradley Beal is a great scoring option, but if you're bringing him to give you 19 points per game on less shots, I don't think that's a smart move, especially with how much he's getting paid in the next 4 or 5 years. He is locked in for the Suns for the next 4 years. And if you're going to have him be the third option on this team, there's obviously possibilities of trying to go in a cheaper route, finding a third option. Now, some of you guys are going to call me crazy for saying that, and I respect Bradley Beal, but I've said this in all of my videos over the past few months. Depth is the key to winning games in the NBA, and especially winning playoff games in the NBA right now. The Suns currently have 4 players signed to their roster currently, and will be over the second tax bracket once they add more players. Right now, we know what the game is: depth. You need adequate role players, you need adequate wing players, you need players who can play the point guard position to help you play make. You also need centers who can do versatile things, defensive-minded center, or even centers who are able to play make and stretch the floor. How are the Suns going to do that while they're over the salary cap to fill in this roster with adequate role pieces so that they can be a viable contending team? Because at the end of the day, when you look at their big trio, they're clearly one of the best big trios in the NBA. But what depth and what players are they going to be able to surround around them to be a viable contending team? Also, DeAndre Ayton is most likely gone from this team, and I think most people who are Suns fans might be happy with this, but what is his trade value? Will his trade even bring back enough to compensate what's needed to fill out this roster? Because I do think that once DeAndre Ayton is traded from this team, you're going to be able to bring back maybe 2 or 3 players that can be a positive players for your team going forward next season. But is it going to be enough to fill around this team right now? I think they have 3 great scoring options, and I think that if we want to be consistent with ourselves here, it is kind of redundant with the fact that they have Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, and Kevin Durant, a big trio that's headlined by their scoring ability. What other things can they do on the court that creates a versatility for the Phoenix Suns to compete next year? And even if you trade DeAndre Ayton, again, the pieces that you add back, will it be enough to create a full roster to compete? When we look at the teams that have succeeded in the playoffs this year and teams that have succeeded for a very, very long time, those teams have had adequate role players to fill in their roles to win games. And I don't know how the Suns are going to do that right now when they're paying 3 guys close to supermax deals. And I think that any additions that they want to make on their team is going to be very, very limited due to the fact that they don't even own their picks for the next few years. And lastly, y'all hired Frank Vogel, a defensive-minded coach, and currently have 0 defensive pieces. There's a lot going on in Phoenix. But again, I understand why the Suns traded for Bradley Beal. I understand how great Bradley Beal is, and I understand what he's going to give to this team on the offensive end and the versatility on the offensive end that reduces the pressure for Devin Booker and Kevin Durant to perform nightly. The problem is, what are you guys going to do to fill in the rest of this roster to be competitive? There's a lot of questions to be asked, but we'll see going forward as the offseason continues before the season starts in October. And lastly, let's talk about the ugly. The Washington Wizards made a fool out of themselves. Trading Bradley Beal for Chris Paul, Landry Shamet, 2nd-round picks, and 1st-round swaps is egregious. Beal is worth more than that, and if you look at other trade packages for many other players in the NBA right now, that was definitely an underpay, and they did not get back enough value at all for Bradley Beal. I understand, because a lot of Wizards fans will come at me and tell me that I'm crazy. I understand that CP3 is going to be rerouted to a different team, and those 2nd-round picks and those pick swaps do have value in the NBA draft and are able to be currency that you can use to add in trades or to move up in trades if you need to do so. But my main problem is that last year, when I said that Washington should not have re-signed Bradley Beal on a $251 million contract, I said it was a bad move. They weren't in a winning situation at the time, and putting all your money into Bradley Beal, especially when you haven't put out a roster to be competitive, and giving him a no trade clause definitely lowers your ability to make any moves in the near future, and you lose your leverage in a possible trade that could occur, which just happened, for you to gain back any assets back that are equivalent of value. Beal's no trade clause definitely hurt them in what their return could have been in this trade. Beal wanted to go to Phoenix to play with Devin Booker and Kevin Durant. I'm not gonna lie to you. Why would he say no to that? And he's getting paid over $50 million a year to go play with 2 of the best offensive players in the league. But again, that no trade clause definitely hurt back what they could have gotten back. And I feel like if they didn't have that in that contract and did not sign Bradley Beal to that max deal and instead look to trade him to begin their rebuild, they would not be in this situation. But hindsight is 2020. The one positive I can see from this, the Wizards know it's a fire sale. Now it's time to get rid of contracts such as Kristaps Porzingis, who I think many competitive and championship level teams will look to acquire. Players like Kyle Kuzma are definitely going to be gone. And now you know what you have on your team right now. And the future is to rebuild, gain assets, and develop your young core that you have in Johnny Davis, Corey Kispert, Denny Avdija, and Daniel Gafford. Unfortunately, it would have been so much better if they did this a year before, where they would have been able to tank and possibly have a higher pick in this year's draft class, which looks super stacked. One thing as well that is important is that once they move to Chris Paul contract, they'll have no money on the books and plenty of cap space to have room to work in their rebuild, which gives them some versatility and some hope. And if that's the case of what they needed to do from this trade and what they wanted to do, then I understand that makes sense. That's fine. But I do think it's a lack of asset management amongst Bradley Beal's contract to make this deal now when there was so much more time to be made during this offseason, and you could have made this trade back 2 years ago or a year ago when it made the most sense. All in all, we'll see what happens with CP3 and where he lands now the Wizards move forward in their own rebuild. But that's just my take on the Bradley Beal deal so far. What are your thoughts about the Bradley Beal trade? What are the good, the bad, and the ugly in your own eyes? Let me know in the comment section. I'll be sure to see what you guys are saying and comment down below with you guys too. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. Turn that post notification bell on so you never miss a video. Be sure to check out Manscaped and get your 20% off and free shipping when using my code DJ Stevo. And until next time, stay on beat.